If you're a parent like me, then you know it's pretty much impossible not to know about the TV show Bluey. In 2023, an official video game based on that show was released, titled Bluey the Videogame. The show has captured the hearts of children and their parents everywhere. But how does the game hold up? Is it worth your children's time and your money? I'm Andrew, a gamer and a parent, and in this video, I'm going to answer those questions. So what is Bluey the Videogame? Bluey the Videogame is an adventure-style game that was developed by Artax Games and published by Outright Games. You play as any member of the Healer family: Bluey, Bingo, Bandit, or Chili. You explore the family's home, the playground, the creek, and the beach, searching for buried treasure that Bandit and his brother hid back in the 80s. The gameplay is primarily walking around the levels and doing some light platforming to find items in them. There are mini-games based on games from the show, such as Keepy Uppy and The Floor is Lava. Additionally, players can find optional collectibles to unlock stickers for their sticker book and hats to customize the Healer family. So let's talk about things from the parent's perspective first. This game is rated E for everyone by the ESRB. I want to start with the positives. So first of all, this game looks just like an episode of the show. Now obviously, it looks more like a video game than the show animation does, but essentially, it is going for that vibe of the TV show, and I think it captures it really well. The whole core concept of the game is essentially taking like an episode idea and translating it into a game where you as the player get to move the characters around, have them do the actions, but the core structure, concept, idea behind the game is very similar to what would have been or what could be an episode of the TV show. Another thing that I like is that all of the characters are voiced by their voice actors. Every single character speaks, they all sound like the show, it matches the tone of the show pretty much spot on. I reviewed a Paw Patrol game not too long ago where only one of the characters was voiced and all of the pups were silent. That's not the case here. Every character feels like that character. They actually got the voice actors in the booth, they recorded VO, and I think that goes a long way to make this feel like something that actually had some love and care put into it. The gameplay is really simple, and the game does a good job of pointing out which direction you need to go, where your objective is, what you're trying to do. And I think that most kids will be able to grasp what the game is asking of them and not need much help from an adult. There are like directional arrows that point to where you need to go in the environment. There are prompts on the screen telling you what button to push. Like I said, all the characters are voice acted, so things are being explained out loud, and reading will help, but reading is not necessarily required to understand what you need to do to progress in the game. Now, there's one big negative from the parent's perspective, and it's something that's probably going to hold this game back tremendously in general, and that is the price versus game length. So Bluey the Videogame, according to the website How Long to Beat, which is a good resource that will show you how long it takes to beat various video games. And according to that website, it takes 1 hour to beat Bluey, just the main story. It takes 2 hours to do the main story plus some extras, and then a completionist run, meaning you did every single thing in the video game, you completed all of the achievements, all the collectibles, everything the game had to offer. That's 3 hours, according to How Long to Beat. And my experience wasn't far off from that. I played this game and it went by really quickly. And when we're talking about spending money on a video game, and that video game only lasting a couple of hours, that's a pretty big ask, especially from the parent's perspective, because you are the one forking over that cash in order to get this game. Now, it is currently available on Xbox Game Pass if you're subscribed to that, so that can help. I'm sure you could catch it on a sale here and there, but just speaking generally and talking about it, like what the game goes for MSRP, while it's not a full price $70 video game like what typical majority of video games cost these days, they still want $40 for this game. And when you're spending $40 for an hour of gameplay, that's a bit of an ask. Now let's talk about things from the child's perspective. Now, speaking positively, your kid gets to play as their favorite character from the Bluey show, and they get to explore the world of Bluey. They get to go around the healer's house, they get to go to the playground, they get to do the little games that they play in the show, like I mentioned earlier, Keepy Uppy, Floor is Lava, like all of those touchstones are there. There's a ton of references from the show in the game, and I think that that can go a long way for kids who are big fans of the show, and kids may get a bit more mileage out of the time to beat because, you know, as adults, the things this game is asking of us are pretty simple. For younger kids, it might take a little bit longer. Not dramatically longer, I don't think, and I don't know how much replay value the game has, but you can't really understate how fun and how cool it is to play as your favorite characters that you know and love from a show or a book or whatever. That's why people get so excited when we get to see different adaptations of things that we love, and why we get so upset when they are bad. Another thing that I mentioned in the parent section is that pretty much any age of kid, as long as they can kind of understand that their actions on the controller are what are dictating what the character does on the screen, like if they have a fundamental understanding of how video games work, they should be able to play this game no problem. It really does guide the player pretty well. Like for games for children, I think this one does a lot right as far as guiding them and directing them to what the next objective is and what they need to do. On the negative side, from the child's perspective, there's really not too much. I do think the game feels a little bit slippery and a little floaty, and so like when you are playing like the Floor is Lava, for example, and you have to hop from like rock to rock, it can be a little frustrating if the jump is awkward and you miss it and it doesn't quite feel right or good. You know, there is a little bit of that there, but I do think that in general, the gameplay feels good enough and tight enough that most kids should be able to progress through this game without too much issue. So with all of that being said, what is my final verdict? What would I rate Bluey the Video Game? So at full price, this game is a 2 out of 5 stars. If you can get it through Game Pass, or if you get it at a deep discount, or if somebody gives it to you, like if you acquire this game and it doesn't cost you that full amount, I would definitely give it like 3 out of 5 stars. I think that it's a really good idea, and there was definitely some care and attention that was put into it, but the length of the game for what you pay, it's really hard to recommend. And even if you get it through Game Pass, or even if you get it discounted, just an hour-long game, a 2-hour-long game, that is really short when we're talking about like average game length, and especially when we're talking about a game that we're getting for our kids. I think that if this game had multiple episodes or multiple ideas in it as far as like storylines that you went through instead of just the one, then maybe that would add some additional value. You know, maybe you could play 3 or 4 different episodes. Once you do the episode about trying to find Bandit's treasure from the 80s, then you can play the next episode where you do a different kind of theme from the show. I know that the show is really short compared to our American TV show standards. Like most episodes are like 7 minutes long. So maybe that was the idea behind the game, is we're also going to have a really short and concise video game experience as well. But when the price of video games are so high, it's hard to recommend paying the price for that length of experience. But what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you think that Bluey is worth the money? Do you think that it's worth playing if you can get it on Game Pass? Let me know in the comments. If you found this review helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button. It helps a lot to grow the channel. But that is all I have for this video on Bluey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.